Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I'm rejuvenated. I am.
It ain't because it's fucking freezing out right now, that's for sure.
No, it is freezing in Chicago. But I got a little medical infusion today to help my bones get stronger. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm extra strong right now. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Hey, everybody out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. Mrs. Weedman,
Mr.
will you
Weedman.
light that joint?
Of course I will.
We are smoking watermelon runts. That was that we met some people, some growers this weekend. We'll talk about it in a minute. But Southside Terps, we got this strain from, and it's called watermelon runts. They grew it, they bred it, they grew it, and it's an indica dominant hybrid strain, which was weird because they told me it was a sativa. He grew it as a sativa dominant instead. We'll find out. But on this, though, what I'm reading here about this strain is it a 75% indica and 25% sativa hybrid created through crossing the classic watermelon Skittles and runt strains. Named for its celebrity percentage and delicious flavor, or patentage and flavor, watermelon runts is the perfect choice of any fan of classic indicas. Like its name suggests, watermelon runts has a super sweet and fruity flavor of juicy watermelon, sour citrus lemon. The aroma is very similar and fruity melon overtone extended by spicy gassiness and a punch of sour citrus lemon. The high will settle in a few minutes after you finally exhale, beginning as a tingle in the back of your head and neck as soon as it spreads throughout the entire body. It smells fantastic, by the way. You're blowing that smoke my way. It smells delicious. And also those nugs that they gave us.
They were pretty.
Beautiful. So this tingling is pretty arousing and can leave you feeling totally calm from head to toe with a deep sense of relaxation, and that will quickly turn into sedative. A giddy cerebral state rounds out the high, leaving you feeling insanely euphoric and without a care in the world. Combined with its super high, around 22 to 29% average THC level, these effects make watermelon runts a great choice for treating a variety of conditions, including chronic pain, nausea, or appetite loss, arthritis, insomnia, cramps, or muscle spasms. This bud has oversized and dense club-shaped dark olive green nugs with deep purple undertones. This is exactly where these nugs look. Thin orange hairs and tiny deep blue crystal trichomes. 100%. I should take a picture of this before we smoke it all because it was a very pretty nugs. The effects: calming, euphoria, relaxing, sleepy, tingly, and uplifting. Arthritis, some relief symptoms: arthritis, chronic pain, cramps, insomnia, muscle spasms, and nausea. Flavors: berry, citrus, fruity, lemon, melon, sour, sweet. And then aromas are berry, citrus, earthy, fruity, gas, lemon, and sour. Very, 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 very nice strain that I'm smelling over there. Can I have a hit?
I do feel the tingly on my tongue.
Already? Mm-hmm. I love it.
I guess I'll share.
Nice, thank you. So we had a great weekend.
We did.
We did 2 events this weekend. 2. And it was also Thanksgiving on Thursday. So hopefully everybody out there in the world had a great Thanksgiving. Hopefully you ate lots of turkey or whatever you celebrate around the world. But if you celebrate in the United States Thanksgiving and you go for your cousin's walk after turkey and you sit and you eat a lot of food and you watch sports and it's just a great day to be with people. It just went by really fast. That's all I got to say about Thanksgiving this year.
Our actual Thanksgiving went too fast. Yeah.
100%. And then Friday, we got ready for our 2 events. We did one on Saturday, and we did one on Sunday. I'll let Mrs. Weedman talk about the Saturday event and what it was called while I smoke this J.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it a little bit on our last episode. Invited everybody to join us, but it was a pop-up vendor event at an old mansion in the city, and it was called the Stan Mansion, and the event was called the Quickie Mart. So the 2 people who put these events together frequently are both cannabis enthusiasts, and they just put together like vintage markets that are also cannabis friendly. So it was pretty cool. It was 2 floors. There was a DJ. There were tattoo artists. There was someone putting on tooth gems. There were clothing vendors, jewelry vendors,
The Munchie donuts were
home
delicious.
good vendors. Yeah, and then mochi donuts.
Mochi
Yeah, there was a mochi donut vendor, and they were quite
so good.
spectacular. Yeah.
We saw some people we knew.
Yeah,
some
we had
vendors
some-
there that we
yeah.
knew. What is that young woman's name who does the cards? What is the name of her
Smoke
company?
Signals.
Smoke Signals.
If you're
yes.
looking for really fun cards, she's like the hallmark of cannabis.
She's awesome.
And out of Chicago, female-owned business, and she really works
She's a
her ass
go-getter.
off. She's a go-getter.
She's 100% go-getter.
Yeah, she's gonna.
Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't remember her name
I'm
right now.
drawing
I
a blank
apologize.
now,
Me
too.
too. But great business model that she has,
Yeah.
and she's a go-getter. So we got to see her. We got to see some people from New Era Cannabis there. They came down and used our smoke set and rolled a couple joints with it, and we rolled a couple joints for them. Also, we saw some friends, some listeners of the show. Sam, thanks for coming out, and our kiddos came out, and some family came out, and some other listeners came out. So thanks everybody out there that came out and supported us on Saturday, and I enjoyed it because I got to roll joints for people. If you came to the table, I stuffed you a joint. With the home grow, so it was very nice when all of a sudden you hand a joint to somebody and they're smiling.
They're like, "Wait, what?"
You see the smile
They're
on
like,
their
"Yeah,
face.
thank you for shopping with us."
Thank you, Quickie Mart, for a fun event. It was a great time. It was a beautiful mansion, beautiful venue, a lot of fun, and it was warm in there.
It was toasty.
It was
Yeah.
very nice in there. Now, on Sunday we went to another event, and this one was a lot of fun too. This one was. On Sunday, the whole weather had changed on us. We went from like low 40s, high 30s to like misery, snow, Arctic cold. It was like 25 degrees outside. And we get to this warehouse event, and it was called Dab's Giving.
It was snowing.
It was snowing,
Let's
yeah.
not forget that
Oh, it was
part.
cold as
It was
fuck.
snowing.
It was 3 car accidents, like total
Bad. Like
cars.
the cars
on the way
didn't
up.
even look like vehicles
Yeah,
anymore.
so it was bad getting up there. And it was in Crystal...
Carroll Stream.
Carroll Stream. And it was called Dab's Giving. And it was a warehouse office building space, and it was pretty cool. It was set up really fun. The place was packed with vendors. A lot of people who we know in the industry, vendor-wise, and some new people we got to meet, which was a lot of fun. We got to meet some home growers. We got to meet some edible makers. We got to meet some candle makers, jewelry makers, some genetics peeps, breeders. Also, the
Glass, lots of
glass. We got to see concentrates people. Oh man, the dude that looked like Jesus over there by his dad's table with the 2 beautiful chairs they were sitting on, those luxury chairs. Oh my god, he was so dope. I didn't get his name. I got all their business cards and stuff, or their handles and stuff. But it was so nice meeting and talking to people in the industry. It wasn't very busy, I think because of the weather. Snowing. It was also the last day of Thanksgiving weekend, and I know me, if I didn't have an event to do, I wasn't leaving the house.
I also think it was a long event, so the amount of people that came through, if it had been a 2-hour event, it would have been bustling.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of, you'd get like a group of, 10, 20, 30 people come through the door, and then they do their thing, and it gets kind of quiet, and then another group comes through. People kind of came in waves.
I would say it would probably like 300 people came through throughout the whole day, but it was a fun event. Good music, really good DJs. The last DJ,
Kofreshi, I think his name is. But then there was
that DJ was jamming on drum and bass. He had live drums with big, and while he was playing his music,
he was making loops.
Yes.
He had a keyboard, he had turntables, he had drums. I think he had some other stuff up there. I don't know, but he was creating loops, and then he would play the drums live to the beats that he created. I don't know, it was really cool. And people would when he started playing, people were like, "Wait a minute, is that real drums?"
Yeah.
Everybody stopped, and
it was banging.
It was really cool.
He was good. Every DJ there they had. We had met one DJ that came by the table, and I think he didn't know where he was at for a second there. He was pretty high.
He was so high.
He was so high. So
we bring a carpet, like we make our little booth kind of like you're coming into a space. Instead of like a table at the front, we put the table to the side and put a carpet down.
Come into our world.
Come in.
Yeah.
And so the floor and our carpet were very similarly colored. It was like a
it was a concrete floor.
And then we had a raw hide, like a raw cow hide on the floor, and it just blended in. And he was like, "I don't know what to do." Put your foot on the floor in front of you and move. And he's like, "I can walk on that." I'm like, yeah, you can walk on it.
So we do our booth.
He was great.
We do our booth a little different than everybody else because we want it to be not just a table out in front, which is nothing wrong with that. We want you to come into our world and chill and hang out, a little space. I got my table, my little rolling station table set up where you can roll on the rolling station. We have one tray smoke set out there, and then I have mine in my briefcase that I'm rolling joints for people, and we ask that you come use it. And then we have our nice little table with all of our 8 decades goods on there, and then we have a clothing rack. So you walk in. It's like walking into a store, not being like in an outdoor market. It's kind of different. So if you ever come and see us, and we got to, like I said, it was a dope, fun event. Good music, good food, tamales, all different types of barbecue. You can get the stuff infused and not infused. I do have to make a suggestion to all you cooks out there that are cooking at these events: offer lower dose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you offered 50 milligrams for the tamale sauce, which I would have loved to have tried if it was 5 milligrams. If I'm going to go 7 hours hard between work and hosting and talking and loading and unloading the car and trying to function too at an event, you have to offer. I'm experienced, and so is Mrs. Weedman. But I don't like 50 milligrams when I'm not at home. That's just my opinion.
Unless you just have I
got to drive too.
But there's people who 50 milligrams
is nothing.
Does nothing.
Right.
So there are people who want 50 and higher.
Of course.
But it just needs to, they should offer something in the fives too. Like
5 or
10.
Yeah, 2.5.
For the low dosers and the micro dosers.
And then they offer the 25 to 50
for the
to
big
100.
Hitters.
Yeah,
because there's people that,
right,
there's people that'll eat 100 milligrams and.
Our friend Sam, who visited us at both shows, both.
Yeah.
He could take
With
100
edibles,
or more,
yeah.
he said. So it's like, I'm not. I like my 10s, because I need to function.
I don't really graduate in my tolerance to
edibles. No, me neither.
No.
And we smoke every day.
A 10 is still effective.
Yeah, I mean, we could smoke a lot, you and I.
Yeah, I could smoke on a 10 now. I couldn't do both,
Yeah.
But Mr. Weedman called me a stoner. I'm like, wait a minute, I am? I said, I think you are.
No,
he's like, no,
nope.
I'm a burner. You're a stoner.
I'm a burnout, baby. My pops called me a burnout my whole life.
You are not a burnout.
That's what he called me. He goes, you're always burnt out. Meaning I smoked.
Oh.
Not that I'm a burnout, like don't know what the fuck I'm doing. He just goes, you're burnout. You burn every day. I'm like, I do. And he used to make fun of me about it all the time. He goes, you look bombeed.
Bombeed. I'm a stoner.
So in those events, though, you have to think that not everybody's experienced,
right.
or not even just experienced, have tolerance levels at that high. Now, I'm glad you did uninfused. Amazing. So I got to try a lot of food, and I wanted to try everybody's food. The street corn, fucking amazing. The tamale, I heard her talking. She was up at 3 o'clock in the morning making her tamales.
Wow.
And then on the other side, you had barbecue. Oh, amazing. Then you had people with hot chocolate. And I said to him, you would have been clutch right now if you would have bought more.
I
coffee.
had a hot chocolate, and I asked the girl, she offered me some, and I said, it tasted like horchata, like a chocolate horchata. I'm like, did you make this with rice milk? She goes, well, no, but maybe kind of.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
well, then
my
it was
gosh,
a
it was so
woman,
good.
a booth in the corner. She made lasagna soup, and I
and
never got a chance
was-
to try that. But
yeah.
everybody walked by and said, this is the shit. And I went to go get one. She goes, I just sold the last one.
Yeah.
I was like,
But everybody was eting it and loving it.
Everybody walking by with smiles. And she had hot, and it was, you can get infused or not infused, which is awesome. I think it's great. I think it's so much fun. The whole event, I mean, walking around and talking to a lot of the growers, home growers, and then like small craft growers or traditional market growers, they knew their shit. But I will have to say to this, a lot of people know what you're talking about. Be more relaxed when someone asks questions. Not in a bad way. Just be more relaxed. I mean, I knew exactly what a lot of these people were talking about. And when you went to go say something, some of them jumped on you like, and I played the newbie person because I wanted to hear their talk about their craft and what they do. But when someone knows something, don't take offense to it. That's all I got to say. I mean, I've done it too in my life. So I'm in sales, so I've done it too. I've taken
Well, I
offense.
think that when we are passionate, we can get defensive.
That's what I'm
right?
saying. I'm passionate.
Right.
So
we get defensive because we think that someone's accusing or criticizing or being
100%.
when they're just asking questions.
Right.
And so just try to engage in just like a parallel space about a common interest, right? And just have a conversation.
Yes, I've
take the
done
questions because we can always learn something.
Yes.
So even though it may be a criticism, there might be some nugget of knowledge within that criticism that can be helpful. You know? And if you don't like it, okay,
right.
Cool, dude. Whatever.
And the question that I had asked was, he was very passionate about his grow, and I loved it. It smelled amazing. My Toucan Sam nose was on fuego. Beautiful scents. And I had asked this person, I said, what would I experience or what would I feel? What would be the feeling if I smoked this one? And he goes, don't worry about the feeling, only worry about the smell. I'm like, no, that's not what it's everything. I want to know if I'm going to buy something from you that's my nose likes.
Yeah.
And I ask you a question is, what am I going to feel on this? Am I going to feel up? Am I going to feel down? Am I going to want to do laps, or am I going to want to go to sleep?
There is a theory, though. We actually did an article, one of our recent episodes. Yes. I read an article about the sensory of smell and using your smell to guide you into strains that appeal to you.
Right.
But you're very right. You could guide.
There was 4 or 5 strains that I enjoyed the smell. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you were using it medicinally and you needed to treat a particular ailment and the person can't define to you the feelings or the things that it's going to help you with, then you could be taking something that makes you anxious when you're trying to defeat anxiety.
That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, right.
So, and then the person was saying, don't worry about the plant. Don't worry if it's, I said, I'm not asking if it's a sativa or indica. I know the chart. I've read it 100 times. I know someone made a nice little easy chart to let people know what those mean, but we all know that it's the plant and where the plant genre comes from, sativa, indica. But the question is, what is the experience I'm going to feel when I smoke your strain? If you grew this and you smoke it, you should know what.
I don't think that should be an argument.
And on Saturday too, when one of the persons brought their bag of weed to use there, and I looked at the cannabinoids, and I looked at the percentage, and I looked at the terpenes, and I said, oh, 18%, I like a good 18%. He goes, and that person said, don't worry about the cannabinoid percentage, only worry about the terpenes. That's not what I was getting at. I was getting at that I like a lower dose than you trying to grow a 40%, telling me it's 40%, because I've had people tell me before, oh, this is 40%, you should smoke it.
I'm not looking for that.
I was impressed that you're low on the cannabinoid range. Your terpene levels with the 4 different terpenes you had in there were like about 1 to 2%, which is impressive. And didn't want to hear that though. Blocked me off as soon as I said when I read the packaging. So what I'm getting at here is this: I've been known to do this too, where I know everything. I'm a Leo, so. And sometimes where I've had to step back to sit back and learn to be patient and learn to listen more and talk less. And that's I'm 51 and I still fuck that up. So so I'm speaking from experience. How and why I do this. And when someone has a question, is what is the feeling I'm going to feel when I smoke this strain? Is a real fucking question. It's not about if it's a sativa or an indica. It's about when he mentioned the cheese strain that he grew. I said, I don't like cheese strains. They do me wrong when I smoke them. And I said, my wife cries when she smokes a cheese strain.
They're intense. Like, oh, I like them, but
I don't know.
I gotta be prepared for that.
And I laughed. I said, I needed to ask you because you would have said, you opened that strain for me. Said, this is like one of my faves. One of your faves. But if I didn't ask the right questions, I might have took that nug and went home and smoked it, but all fucked up. And you would have laughed, cried all night. But great, phenomenal events both days. I enjoyed the hell out of them. Thank you for having us. Big shout outs because I know how much it takes to put those kind of events together. Yeah. They're not easy. Lots of work, time, energy, and they're going to be doing more. So I'm excited for both parties we went to. Thank you for having and thank you for hosting us. Appreciate it.
Yes.
So
thank you guys and girls.
Yeah, and
people.
and peeps and human beings.
Yes.
You ready to start the show, Mrs. Weedman?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Now, THCA flower, legal weed or weak loophole. There was a lot of THCA flower and tables, like people selling THCA flower and calling it that at this one of the events we went to on over the weekend. And I smiled and I said, okay, so once I lighted though, it's THC, right? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So I said, how do you get away with selling this? Like, they're like, it's THCA. I'm like, okay, cool. Is this a loophole? Is what I'm trying to get at,
right?
And I don't want to see people losing their passion,
right?
Because they take this loophole and go a little further. So, the majority of Americans live in states where cannabis is legal. However, there are still many states where prohibition reigns. THC flower has become the hot new way to get high for folks in several of these places. THC flower looks and smells like traditional cannabis you see at a legal dispensary with same psychoactive effects, but unlike the high THC bud that is legal in the eyes of the federal government, THC flower may be considered lawful hemp depending on where you reside, thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill. So, and that two paragraphs, part of this is wrong. Part of this is wrong. Okay? So, how can something seemingly identical to regular weed be legal? Because it is. It is regular weed. The facts are a bit hazy depending on who you ask. So, what is THC flower? THC flower has high levels of tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, THCA for short. THCA is a cannabinoid that's the precursor to delta-9 THC. THC is a cannabinoid known for its psychoactive and euphoric effects. THCA turns into THC when it is exposed to heat. This is a process called decarboxylation. All THC flower starts at THCA flower since THCA is converted to THC. When you light a joint or a bowl, you're creating the THC at that moment, or when you're cooking in your oven and decarbing your weed at a certain temperature too. This chemical process is essential when making edibles. Won't feel much if you eat cannabinoid buds in their raw form. They must be heated first to activate the THC. So what makes THCA flower different from THC flower? The short answer is not much. It all comes down to semantics, defining hemp. According to the 2018 Farm Bill, hemp is defined as cannabis flower with no more than 0.3% concentration of delta-9 THC. Any bud exceeding this level is no longer hemp and is classified as marijuana and a legal Scheduled I controlled substance. According to cannabis attorney Rod Kite, founder of Kite Law Office, this is the key to THCA flower proliferation on the market. Under federal law and the laws of some, but not all states, THC flower is not controlled substance, Knight told Green State. In other words, the sole metric for distinguishing hemp from marijuana is the level of delta-9 THC. The levels of other cannabinoids, including THCA, are irrelevant to the material's legal status. The debate over the legality of THCA flower and the interpretation of current federal guidelines is a hot topic in cannabis space. Jared Reams, a cannabis attorney and partner of Eklund and Blando, disagrees with the notion that THCA flower falls under the definition of hemp, calling it false marketing. If this was true, all cannabis would be hemp because THCA is what the plant creates. It only becomes THC when it loses the carboxyl group with the introduction of heat. Reams told Green State, in sum, THC flower is not legal and is, in fact, just a run-of-the-mill cannabis. No. Testing. Licensed hemp cultivators must have their plants tested before harvest to remain in compliance with the law. The entire crop must be destroyed if its samples test over 0.3% THC. THCA and factors into federal testing, with samples required to be submitted post-decarboxylation. The total THC concentration is set using formula set forth by the United States Department of Agriculture. Imagine if they made you decarb the weed, though, and it shoots up like one nug. You got to decarb it, though, to find the real THC.
Yeah.
Reams broke down the math in the email. The reason THCA is multiplied by 0.877 under that equation is that the remaining 0.123% accounts for the weight of the carboxyl group and is lost once the THCA is converted to THC, Reams explained. Some states use the federal guidelines while others do not call out THCA. Additionally, certain states also mandate that cannabis plants be tested post-harvest. The federal government only requires the pre-harvest test. Once the plant passes the pre-harvest compliance test, the only cannabinoid that matters as a compliance standpoint is delta-9 THC. Between variations in testing standards and the language that constitutes THC in the Farm Bill, is relatively easy for THC flower to pass for legal hemp in the eyes of federal government. However, it's still a gray area on the state-by-state basis. Excuse me, everybody. Despite the theory that THCA flower is legal hemp in the eyes of the federal government, it is not legal everywhere in the United States. Regulations around cannabis vary widely from state to state, as do testing requirements. Cannabis mega brand Cookies recently raised eyebrows after it offered customers across the country to buy THC flower online. To ensure compliance, the company only ships to states where smokable THC flower is lawful. According to its legal counsel, these include Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Need a drink.
That's a lot of information.
That was. Even so, the topic of THCA and the law is continuous. THC flower for many pieces and producing and selling it, when a question about legality arose, every company stopped responding to emails to this article. Furthermore, consumers in states where THCA flower has been deemed lawful may still run the risk of being prosecuted for cannabis possession. Law enforcement often relies on testing methods that will convert THCA to THC, meaning the flower is likely to test hot. The future of THC flower is still up in the air. Drug Enforcement DA recently alluded to that THCA is an unified letter circulated online, reportedly responding to questions about synthetic cannabinoids from Vice Media. Man, cottonmouth. Whew. Oh, I talked to somebody on Sunday at Dab's Giving, and they were saying there's a company that's going to be coming out that you take a little sip of this thing, little stick, you'll drink it, and you won't have cottonmouth anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, where was that when I was in my 15 to
That's
25? Cool. So conversations around rescheduling cannabis would not apply to THC flower since hemp does not fall under the Controlled Substance Act. However, there has been speculation that federal government may change its definition of hemp when the Farm Bill is renewed. Ooh, no. So, pretty good article. Lot to still learn. My thing is THCA is and will go into THC. That's it. Once you light it, THCA, light it, turns into THC. That's just simple. So be careful. Now, edibles.
Yeah.
We just talked about like the start low, go slow. There's different doses for different folks. Mm-hmm. You know, it just...
We hammer on that quite a bit.
We do. And Ann Infusion, we had her on the show too, was great. She talked about it too with her edibles too.
It's just important.
It is very important. You will green out. You will fucking wake up.
And then you'll never possibly not want to ever try it again. And then you miss out on the benefits of cannabis.
Right.
So do yourself a service and dose correctly.
Right. So this is some of the questions that you probably never thought to ask, but ask.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to these events or somebody's handing you one.
Yes.
Mrs. Weedman, you've been making them for a long time. I'm the taste tester. I would tell people you could probably take two because I know your tolerance. You could probably take one or you should take a half.
Right.
So
here we have 6 key questions you probably never thought to ask about edibles. If you are new to the world of cannabis or have been looking at getting started with cannabis products, there's a lot of information out there. More and more products are making their way onto the market, and while this is a very good thing, it can certainly bring about a lot of questions. Odds are good that you have heard of edibles. Not only are they wildly popular, but just about every Hollywood comedy movie for the past 15 years has featured mischief that follows accidentally eating a batch of special brownies. While this certainly draws laughs, edibles are so much more than that. So before you place your online weed order for delivery in Santa Ana, California, this is coming from a particular dispensary, they want to take the time to answer 6 key questions about edibles. So, number 1, what are edibles? Well, edibles are so much more than pot brownies. To put it in simple terms, an edible is any food or drink that has been infused with THC or CBD. Edibles can exist in many different forms, including gummies, baked goods, drinks, candies, and more. Typically, there are 4 main types of edibles: sativa only, indica only, hybrid, which is a combination of both, or pure CBD. The one that's right for you is totally up to what your wants and needs are. There's no right or wrong answer, so long as you're satisfied with the product. And like any product you buy, you often get what you pay for. So make sure you're buying good quality edible products made with the best ingredients, as well as the most effective strains of THC or CBD. 2. How exactly do edibles work? In slang terms, they hit different. The high or bodily effects you experience tend to be different than what you might get when you encounter smoking or vaping cannabis. This is due to the way that the THC is processed through the bloodstream. When you smoke or vape, it instantly hits your bloodstream, making you feel the effects right away. When you ingest edibles, the process takes much longer due to the fact that it has to metabolize through your liver and digestive system. 3. How long do they take to kick in? This should be question number 1.
Yeah.
Right? It should be number 1 and number 7, because you can't tell people this enough. How long do they take? Well, because of their lengthier metabolization process, you won't feel the effects of edibles right away. Typically, it can take about 30 minutes or more. I've had edibles kick in an hour and a half later.
Oh, you had edibles kick in a day later.
Yeah, sometimes that happens too. It's like, oh, there it is. Typically, it can take about 30 minutes or more to begin to feel the high. Due to this, many cannabis newbies make the mistake of eating another edible in hopes to speed up the process, or frankly, it's usually like, oh, I don't feel anything yet, and they get impatient and they eat more. This can result in leaving you feeling too high or possibly even a bit nauseous. Patience is a virtue, and that especially applies to edibles. 4. How do I go about dosing? Well, again and again and again, we will say, don't rush into edibles. Take the time to figure out what really works best for you. Below, we have a few tips that can help you better understand dosing. Microdosing. If you are at all anxious about getting started with edibles, it's best for you to try microdosing. Typically, you would start out trying a 1 to 5 milligram dose of THC per serving. At this rate, it will be easier to pace yourself and avoid any kind of overeating. Microdosing isn't just for beginners, though. It can actually be an effective way to tackle stressful situations, such as tiring workdays and family obligations you would prefer to skip. A medium dose. If you're looking for a type of high that toes the line between productivity and recreation, then you will want to shoot for a medium dose. Normally, this entails about 5 to 10 milligrams of THC and will leave you comfortably stoned for some time. This is a great choice if you're looking to elevate your experience at a concert or while out with friends. You won't be couch locked, but you're sure to have a good time. Macro dose. Ready to sit on the couch and vibe like a useless potato for 3 or 4 hours? If so, then you want a macro dose. This means consuming 10 milligrams or more of THC. We do not recommend this for beginners or someone trying edibles for the first time. Leave this option for the pros. But if it's something you might be interested in, remember to work your way up to this point. 5.
I like a 10.
Yeah,
I'm
like
a tenner. I tell people that all the time. Like, really? I'm like, I like a 10. I can do a 10 like 2 or 3 hours later, maybe do another 10.
Yeah.
You know, but that's just, I like a good 10. People like, that makes sense. I'm like, it's just nice for me.
It's nice. It's nice. 5. Is there a difference between sativa and indica edibles? Just like when you're smoking cannabis, sativa and indica tend to follow the same rules and edible options. If you're high If you're after a head high that creates a more energetic and uplifting type of feeling, you'll want to opt for edibles made with a sativa strain. If you're after a more relaxed body high that can help you unwind and sleep better, then you'll want to choose edibles made with the indica strain. Edibles made with a hybrid strain can create different effects, so be sure to read the label and ask questions when you're visiting a store. And 6, what types of edibles can I purchase? Your options are basically limitless. There are drinks, gummies, candies, baked goods, chocolate bars, you name it. Edibles are a great alternative to smoking or vaping because you get high and enjoy a delicious treat at the same time. So
I love it.
There you go.
We love edibles. We've eaten a lot of edibles, but seriously,
it hits different. It's a different.
Say it all the time. It hits differently, and now they're making edibles with solventless hash in it now too, or live resin, and it's different experiences. It's not just butter anymore. That's the thing too. It's not like we've always made it with butter or ghee or coconut oil. You know, that's how we've always made our edibles. And I've made a tincture before, and I've made some alcohol stuff before, and I made some sugar alcohol before and stuff you got to use like that because it soaks in. So I've done that stuff, but I like just a good old fashioned edible made with either ghee or with butter or with coconut oil. Just the experience for us is, I think it's not so harsh. You know, I mean, everything's being made differently now. You know, distillate, isolates, extractions, and the edibles hit different. A lot different. Mm-hmm. It's a different high. And if you're not experienced with that, you just need to ask the right questions.
Yep.
And people out there selling your stuff, do not take offense to when people are asking questions or giving suggestions, because it's their money. You want them as a client. You know, you have to understand people need to ask.
And some people just they don't want to just wing it.
Right.
They need the answers to feel comfortable.
You have to be knowledgeable now. You're selling something.
I could never be a bud tender. I mean, they do
a phenomenal job.
It's insane. They have to keep track of so many products, so much data.
Yeah. And they're good at what they do.
Yeah, they're really good at what they do.
They're passionate. They love it. And,
that's an important job.
Yeah, it is. Very. So when you're out there doing these events, though, know your product, know what you're talking about, know what you're selling. Just don't make it and sell it. You're not doing the community any justice. You're not doing any new cannabis user any justice, or legacy people or OGs or people who have been doing it forever. It gives it a bad name. And that's what we're trying to get away from. We're trying to stomp that stigma. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
So I posted this article a few weeks ago when it came out, and I just haven't had a chance to talk about it. And I've talked about so many different types of flavor compounds within the cannabis plant. You know, we've talked about terpenes and the flavor between your nose and taste with terpenes. We've talked about flavonoids. We've talked about esters. This is a new one, flavorants. And like I said, it's all about the whole entire plant. Cannabinoids, flavonoids, terpenes, esters. You know, so this is just a new one they discovered. It's just more for your smell. You know, while many marijuana enthusiasts believe that the components called terpenes are responsible for strains' distinctive smells, a new study published by American Chemical Society has identified previously undiscovered cannabis compounds that challenge the conventional wisdom of what really gives each variety its unique olfactory profile. That's how you smell. You smell through your nose. That's what you taste with, too. You taste through that gland. The research conducted by a team of scientists from marijuana extractions and testing companies and published this month or last month in the Journal of ACS Omega says that while aroma is a key property in differentiating cannabis varieties and users' preferences, the importance of terpenes appears to be overstated. This is the person talking, not me. Terpenes, which make up about 1 to 4% of the total mass of cured cannabis flower. Yes! And that's what I was reading on someone's bag, and I said, oh, you got almost about 2% terpenes. That's pretty good, because you don't see, like, high numbers, which I want to start seeing high numbers. 1 to 4% is fine, but let's start getting it up there, you know. Certainly do contribute to marijuana smell, the authors wrote, but they are and generally provide minimal information regarding unique aromatic attributes of many cannabis varieties. Even among clusters of strains with similar terpene content, for example, odors can vary widely from one to the next. The report attributes much of those in group differences in aroma instead of what are called flavorants, a class of chemicals that include esters, alcohols, and other components. Like terpenes, flavorants are categorized as volatiles and typically spread easily through the air. Flavorants can also create similar aromas between marijuana varieties and that have dominant terpenes that researchers found. Analyzing the volatile chemical profiles of 31 ice hash rosin extracts, they wrote, we identified a myriad of non-terpenoid compounds that strongly influence the unique or aromatic properties of cannabis, as in flavorants or flavonoids. In particular, they continue, we identified a new class of tropical volatile sulfur compounds that are major contributors to certain varieties with a strong citrus, tropical, fruity aroma. While Skadol 3-methylide dol, a highly pungent compound, was identified as a key aroma compound in savory chemical varieties. T.J. Martin, Vice President of Research and Development at extraction company Abstract, said in the company release that the team found clear correlations between key minor compounds never before seen in the cannabis that produce some of the most desirable aromas. Love it. More about the whole plant. After analysis by our sensory panel in tandem with our analytical data, it became evident that terpenes, while essential in producing many of the typical aromas in cannabis, do not necessarily differentiate many varieties with distinct scents, he said. There's more to this, but it's just all about the plant. Just remember that. Everything in that plant is all about those angels in those leaves. So, do you think there's different effect when you use THC in men and maybe not the same for women or vice versa?
I never thought about it. But
Me neither.
After reading this article, I would have to agree.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. There's no denying the effects of THC, but are men and women feeling the same thing? Emotionally, physically, and psychologically, there are a host of complex differences that manifest as different attitudes, tendencies, and emotions. But in what may surprise many, these differences also seem to dictate how each gender responds to the effects of THC. The effects of THC in the animal body. Like much of the research in the medical community, cannabis research traditionally relied on male rodents. The reason for choosing males was to negate the effects of fluctuating hormone levels associated with females, which commonly induce more varied effects across the reproductive cycles of females. This left scientists with data that was less quantifiable and repeatable. The result is that much of our understandings of the workings of THC relate predominantly to the male animal brain. However, a study published in Psychopharmacology in 2019 investigated the acute effects of smoked cannabis among both sexes and found that THC affects females quite differently to males. In a double-blind study, 91 cannabis consumers smoked a joint containing either 12.5% THC or a placebo. The study participants were all 19 to 25 years old and all used cannabis between 1 and 4 times per week. Once medicated, they completed subjective effect scales and cognitive tests while researchers monitored their vital signs. Researchers noted that while females smoked for the same amount of time as males, they tended to smoke less. Despite consuming less, they reported no difference in their subjective analysis of effects on mood or cognition when compared to men in the study. The effects of THC on women. While men and women do seem to react differently to cannabis, scientists struggle to find repeatable patterns in the differences between both genders. Women appeared to obtain enhanced benefits regarding pain relief, motor activity, depression, and anxiety. They also experienced heightened sexual behavior and experienced cannabis as a more effective treatment for catalepsy, a medical condition in which a person's body becomes stiff and stops moving. They had these benefits more than their male counterparts. Males tended to experience increased appetite and decreased interest in sexual behavior with a lower libido. Libido. Most likely due to the ability of cannabis to reduce testosterone. But while the results from the above studies seem to be clear-cut, other studies contradict the findings. A study published in Drug and Alcohol Dependence in 2016 investigated the analgesic effects of cannabis on men and women. Researchers in the study concluded that when smoked, cannabis provided enhanced pain-relieving effects in the men when compared to women. They provided no reason for the differences and highlighted the need for further studies. If anything, the studies underline the importance of including both men and women in clinical trials aimed at understanding any potential therapeutic or adverse effects of THC. Another study published at Washington State University in 2014 found the opposite to be the case. Researchers in this study concluded that women experience greater pain relief from cannabis than men do. However, one important caveat from this conclusion is that women only felt enhanced pain relief from cannabis when their estrogen levels peaked. Women naturally have higher levels of the sex hormone estrogen, and it fluctuates throughout their reproductive cycle. Higher estrogen levels in women mean stronger perceived effects from THC, but this seeming advantage also has a dark side. When the female CB1 receptors become overactivated due to THC and estrogen interactions, the system tends to fall out of balance. A study published in Behavioral Brain Research in 2011 found that adolescent women who consumed cannabis had larger amygdalas than males who use cannabis and non-consuming females. The amygdala is part of the brain that is responsible for threat detection and processing fear, and those with enlarged amygdalas often experienced heightened anxiety. Well, that's not good. Women may also develop dependency more easily. The benefits of a stronger medicated effect with lower dosing among females may sound like a win-win, but a study published by the International Council on Alcohol and Addiction in 2004 investigated whether cannabis dependence can develop more readily in women. Researchers found that women tend to progress to a cannabis use disorder more quickly than men. Therefore, researchers concluded that there exists a gender-based vulnerability to the adverse consequences. The effects of THC are quite different for men than women. Although what biological factors underpin these differences is still unclear, and something that further research will no doubt need to clarify. Very interesting.
Very.
And that's true, too, because they talked about the THC being more intense during like a reproductive cycle, and that's typically when women are more emotional, and that is also typically when, if you were drinking, women talk about it all the time, that like they'll have a half glass of wine and they're like sloppy. So like your body is just reacting to things differently. So it does make sense that
right.
You're not going to get effective, balanced responses if somebody's in that cycle of life, a female,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Very.
Yeah.
The second biggest green holiday was last Wednesday for Green Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
It saw over $9 million in cannabis sales,
Dang.
an 18% increase compared to 2022, which saw $7.7 million in sales. That's pretty good. That's not a bad for one day sales across the country.
Mm-hmm.
For Jane Technologies put it out. So, but flour did 3.3 million. Vape products did 2.5. Edibles did 1.2. Pre-rolls, look at that, 963,000. Told you, man, I like a good pre-roll. And extracts were 448,000. Yeah, extracts are not there yet. Unfortunately, and you just all need to learn about hash. Change your world. So these provided a state-level breakdown of sales figures revealing the top 5 states with the highest recreational sales, where Illinois was 2.8 million, California was 1.0 million, New Jersey was 880,000, Maryland was 758,000, and Washington was 709,000. So some pretty big numbers there. There's more. But it's just a successful day for businesses to do something cool. Green Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
We always called it Blackout Wednesday, right? Because you'd go out to the bars. So just it's good to see weed being up there now, GOP lawmakers introduced first bill to alter Ohio's legal marijuana law 1 week before it takes effect, December 7th. Ohio's recreational law is supposed to take into effect, and the GOP in Ohio is trying to change it already, saying that a lot of people didn't understand what was in the law. Yes, they did, because they wouldn't have voted for it. Okay? There was a lot of people promoting it, asking people to read the bill so you would vote for it, because it's a good bill. Might not be the best bill I've ever seen, but it's a good bill. Okay? When legalization poised to take effect on December 7th, lawmakers are hacking away at the voter-approved initiative. That's what I keep on telling you. The voters approved it. It stays. Why are you changing what the voters approved? Same thing like they say. Well, you know, in Indiana, there'll never be a voter-approved vote for cannabis because there's nothing that it's all about the House and the Senate that vote on everything instead. That's crazy. And then home cultivation, permitting sites to ban cannabis sales and rerouting cannabis revenue are among the changes Republicans want. Do not let them take home cultivation away. You need to all learn how to home grow there in Ohio. Participate in it. Oh, man. Don't fuck it up, Ohio. Cannabis regulations overhaul Oklahoma's crackdown, and Hawaii's trying to push for legalization in 2020 by 2026. So Oklahoma's cracking down, stricter enforcement because there's so much illegal grow going on in Oklahoma. So like I read on the last week where they found 72,000, they busted 72,000 pounds of illegal weed. Wisconsin governor grants dozens of marijuana pardons as advocates pressure GOP leaders to advance legalization. In the state of South Dakota, higher education workers may need to start basically working in the industry. They're trying to start a law saying that there's going to be higher education for dispensary workers, meaning like you're going to have to go to school, which I've said before. I think if the company you're working for is not offering education, there should be some kind of program that the tax dollars pay, and it should be free, just like it was at Moraine. I went to Moraine, and went to school there and did the education there, but it should be free. It should be taking out of the tax dollars that the state earns and put it so everyone can learn about cannabis, and if they want to work in the industry, that's what should be done, because like I said, the states don't deserve that money anyway. South Dakota prepares for second try at adult use cannabis legalization. That's right, because you proposed it and you won, and they took it off. You voted for it, and then they ripped it from your palms. South Dakota, don't let it happen again. Missouri brings in over $1 billion, and the year's not over yet in 2023. Pretty good. Consumption. Legal public cannabis consumption. Not even just lounges. Just like be able to just go outside your house, outside your apartment. If you live in an apartment, go out in the street, on your stoop, and smoke a joint. I mean, people do it all the time. I'm not saying people don't do it. But to be able not to get in trouble for it is a difference. Yep. So what's going on here, Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah, this is a good one. Legalize public cannabis consumption. Legalization must mean the freedom to smoke weed, not just buy it. Listen to this, right? This is so important. Smells good. If you smoke weed outside, especially in a city, there's a pretty good chance you've heard those words from a stranger. It happens to me at least once a week, usually a lot more. Look in the pages of the New York Post, Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, watch local news, or listen to politicians, though, and you might be fooled into thinking that weed does not, in fact, smell good. Wild, right? Under titles like, I don't want to see you getting high, and New York City's disgusting pot stench is keeping tourists away, those loud voices, fed up with loud smells, are the last gasps of Prohibition's fading foghorns. Weed won, and the world hasn't fallen into disarray because of it. So cannabis critics are reaching for anything they can to push back against its growing role in American life.
That line right there is amazing.
Mm-hmm. These smell sheriffs might even support legalization, just as long as they can't see it or smell it. But legalization without the guarantee of safe, free, and open consumption is not legalization at all.
There it is.
And while much of the discussion from inside and outside of the weed industry is about, well, industry, New York has quickly shown us that the right to public consumption should be one of the most important facets of any and every legalization law. New York has been the most important domino to fall into place on the legalization map since California, and this conversation is only coming to head now because of the Empire State's uniquely progressive consumption laws. Out of the 38 states with some form of medical or adult use cannabis laws on the books, New York is the first to allow public cannabis consumption. Anywhere you can legally smoke a cigarette in New York, you can also smoke weed. Yes. In the other 37 states, however, cannabis use is largely restricted to the whims of property owners. Sure, some states have consumption lounges, although few and far between, but those are also businesses looking to turn a profit, adding another layer of transaction before renters, tourists, or the unhoused can legally consume their cannabis. In most legal weed states and cities, there are no consumption lounges, and those without property in their portfolios are forced to ask a landlord for permission, or they continue breaking the law to consume in public. So now, in the only state to recognize the catch-22 of legal cannabis consumption and allow smoking in public, the city's media and politicians are arguing that smokers need to cut it out and go back to hiding. You might say weed smokers just can't win. These screeds against the smell of weed sound eerily similar to the weak arguments used to shame protesters who can never march peacefully enough, queer people who won't assimilate to hetero norms enough, and unhoused people who can never be quite out of the way enough. Sometimes perfect is the enemy of progress, though, and trying to fit into a non-consumer's constantly shifting definition of perfect is always a losing battle. Instead of trying to cater to the loudest detractors to shape our community into impossibly perfect stoners in their eyes, I reject the claims that the smell of weed is a public nuisance. People love the smell of weed. Fighting anecdotal evidence of offensively pungent subway stations and tourists turned off by a smoked-out Times Square within my own experiences, I smoke weed outside just about everywhere I go, in cities where it's legal, in cities where it's not. And the compliments I get on the scent exponentially outweigh the complaints and dirty looks. On sidewalks, in parks, at restaurants, in stores, people love to comment on the smell of weed, and they are almost always smiling when they do. Everyone I know who smokes weed has their own similar stories. American cities smell like weed and are filled with weed dispensaries, both licensed and not, because Americans love weed. Legalization is often pitched as an easy way to stop unnecessary arrests and boost tax revenue, and it has been, but politicians and pundits often overlook the reality behind much of the support for legalization, that millions of people love to smoke weed. Just look at the sales numbers, and they want us to do so without breaking the law or risking the anger of and we, the people, want to be able to do so without breaking the law or risking the anger of a landlord. It doesn't seem like too much to ask for. In many cities where cannabis is only legal medically, public consumption has become fully normalized despite rules restricting it. That's a good thing, but it also allows police to continue to use weed as an excuse to stop, search, and selectively harass people they would otherwise have no reason to. This same pothole in the legal weed landscape looms over people in California, Nevada, Michigan, and every other legal weed state outside of New York. Legalization at the discretion of police and property owners is not legalization at all. It is time for all cannabis laws to follow New York's lead and include provisions for public consumption. It is a fight that should stand alongside the battle for home grow provisions and farmers market distribution systems as a necessary prong of social and financial justice. Social and just, oh my Lord, I was doing so good there. It is a fight that should stand alongside the battle for home grow provisions and farmers market distribution systems as a necessary prong of social and financial justice-focused legalization efforts.
There you
go.
There you go.
Cannabis legalization cannot stop at buying and selling. We must legalize free and open consumption of weed everywhere it is legal.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen to that. Great article. Oh, so good. It was great.
That's great.
International news. Germany hosts officials from U.S. and other countries for marijuana forum on creating international policy framework. Very interesting. Very interesting. Ukraine medical marijuana bill that was set for final vote is blocked by hundreds of spam amendments, lawmaker says. Boo. Those people are going to need it for their PTSD. Police invest streak of cannabis store on robberies in Calgary. Bam. Queensland, police seize $68.5 million worth of cannabis from one farm.
That's a lot of weed.
That's a lot of weed. That's a lot of weed. This happened on the property in Rosedale on Tuesday, where they discovered 13,670 cannabis plants hidden within 26 greenhouses. I see all the greenhouses on this in this article. It's crazy. There's a lot of them. Along with 1,588 grams of dried cannabis. 6 people, including 2 immigrants, were arrested at the scene. $68.5 million worth of illegal cannabis plants in a major raid of North Bundaberg in Queensland, said the Queensland police. That's crazy. That's a lot of weed. That's a lot of weed. It's the holiday season.
It is.
It's the holiday season.
Ba-doop-be-doop.
A doop-be-doop. And what do we like during the holiday season?
Christmas movies.
We do like a good Christmas movie. And there's some good ones on this list, and there's some ones that we like too.
Yeah.
I like watching all the Christmas cartoons, all of them.
We had a list last year.
Yes.
I'll have to look back and see if they overlap. I'm sure there's some that cross
some
over.
overlapping. But I mean, to me,
you still watch them every year.
It has to start off every year. The 4 top in my list is Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yep.
Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
And Frosty the Snowman. I mean, there's more, but those 4 to me.
It's a Wonderful Life.
But that's, I'm talking about cartoon.
Home Alone.
Yes.
right?
I'm talking about cartoon. The first 4 cartoons that come out like that first week of December while we're usually doing the tree, those are the first that are always on, and those are always will be in forever in my heart. Now, this list is pretty good, though. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good list. So once you see, and we'll give thumbs up or thumbs down.
So this is a list of Christmas movies that you should watch and get stoned with. It's time to spark up, sit back, and get cozy. We've compiled a list of the 10 best movies to watch while high this upcoming holiday season. Whether you know these movies like the back of your hand, or you're one of those rare few that haven't seen any of them, these are fun flicks to watch while high this holiday season. We've got The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is it a Christmas movie? Mm-hmm. Or is it a Halloween movie?
Well,
is it both?
Right? Yes. Tim Burton's successful career has left us with gems like The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it has aged like fine wine, making it one of the best holiday animated movies of all time. Maybe you watched it when you were little, but now it's time to watch it with some weed, food, and maybe even in your comfy bed.
Yeah.
A Christmas Carol. This is a perfect example of a movie that is going to surprise you, but also help you appreciate the things you have. This is perfect to watch while stoned, with tense moments, funny interactions, and excellent animation.
All of them, like do the history of the movie The Christmas Carol, like from the black and white ones when we watched them, and then all the way to today. You also have Scrooge too with Bill Murray, which is amazing to watch too. That's not on this list, so.
Home Alone. It's a holiday classic that we've all seen at least once, but have you watched it stoned? If you haven't seen it in a while or you've never seen it before, do yourself a favor. Light up a big joint and enjoy a good movie night with this classic comedy. Oh my gosh, Home Alone is great.
So good.
Klaus. Animated movies are in constant evolution, and watching a good animated movie while high is one of the most satisfying things a stoner can do. Klaus is the perfect choice for a moment like that, and it has been one of the most influential animated films in recent years. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Oh my gosh. If you haven't seen this, do yourself a favor. The National Lampoon's movies in general are classics, but the Christmas edition may be the best of the saga. Like many other comedies, they are better to watch while you're high. You enjoy the jokes more, and many details just make sense. Don't leave this movie out of your holiday stoner list. Make yourself a hot chocolate, smoke a joint, and enjoy it. The Grinch.
Shitter's full.
Shitter's full. The Grinch. The movie is hilarious. The Grinch's odd ways will surely have you giggling. Bad Santa. Oh my gosh.
Wait.
It's so
So
bad.
the Grinch with Jim Carrey
Yes.
is amazing, but the cartoon anime one, that should be my fifth one because I was always on too. So those 5 right there would top off. I mean, the Grinch
For you personally.
personally, yes, the Grinch is still the Grinch is still Christmas cartoon is fucking unbelievable.
It's great. Bad Santa.
Oh, so good.
It's the perfect movie when you're in need of a laugh. Grab yourself a big fat blunt, pizza, cozy blankets, and enjoy this classic comedy that will bust your gut.
Oh, so good.
It's so bad, so rotten.
All right, wait. Before
But-
you go to this next one,
Mhm.
this is the question that everybody asks: is this movie a Christmas movie?
No, it's set during Christmas.
Okay, name the movie.
Die Hard.
Okay, a lot of people are going to erupt on us. 'Cause
Yeah?
there's a lot of people that say this is a Christmas movie.
Well, because it takes place during the Christmas season.
I know.
So
but
it's Christmas. That makes it a Christmas movie.
Is it a Christmas movie? Is the theme
But the story's not
Christmas?
Christmas.
Right.
Right.
But people believe that this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah. It's just a thing, Paul.
I don't care.
Mr. Weedman.
I don't care. This is the argument that people argue around this time of the year. You'll see someone post it, and someone will say this is a Christmas movie, and then a bazillion comments come on after that. I just laugh at all the comments. I think they're funny.
All right. Die Hard. Not all Christmas movies are comedies. One of the most classic Hollywood action movies is set during Christmas. Explosions, guns, Bruce Willis. There's no better combo than that for an action movie. Take a few bong rips and feast your eyes on this action-packed classic.
Poor Bruce Willis.
I know. Edward Scissorhands. Yes. Another Tim Burton movie is on the list, but this may be a little weird. It's an excellent movie, but the way Edward is dressed and the whole ambiance of the movie may be a little trippy, which is great if you want to watch it high. Elf with Will Ferrell. Oh my God. It will never disappoint you.
Never get old.
Another Christmas classic that everyone should watch at least once. I don't know if I have watched that high, and I think I'm going to have to
I
make.
watched it high.
I specifically am going to get high and watch that. It is so
Fucking-
funny.
We have a friend that dresses up as him every Christmas,
Oh my
and
gosh.
he looks exactly like him. But this is like what I mean. The lines in this movie are just so good.
They saved the best for last.
Oh,
Elf,
gosh.
just watch it.
So
Oh my gosh.
if you have not seen Elf,
Oh my gosh. The shower scene.
oh my gosh,
Oh my
such
gosh.
a good movie.
So funny.
Such a good movie. I would like to thank our friends that got us high for this show.
Yes.
The watermelon runts really got me
It
high.
was great.
Got
I'm
me
gonna
very
finish
nice.
this
Yeah,
joint,
we're gonna smoke
actually.
the rest of that joint. So thank you, Southside Terps, for getting us a couple nugs to smoke for the show. We got some other nugs too to smoke that were given to us too to smoke. So we have some friends. Our friend Sam gave us 3 different grows, and we're gonna be trying those on the show. Goat Genetics gave us another nug to smoke. I'm excited about smoking their strain too. So yeah. So Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yep.
Boo. It was a good one. You just pounded on that joint.
Yeah, would you like some?
I will in a minute. So, you got anything else to say?
Have a great week, everybody. I hope you stay warmer than I do.
Oh, it's fucking 17 degrees
Oof,
out right now.
It's rough.
Oof.
Rough.
It's
Have a
rough.
great week, everyone.
Everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thank you for listening. And this is 180 episodes on the Chronicles and 45 coming up on the Grow Hour with Big Earl. But 180 episodes, Mrs. Weedman, and we ain't stopping. So
We're not stopping.
might take a break when we get to 420. A smoke break.
Smoke break.
But thank you out there, everybody, for keep on listening to this, keeping me motivated to keep on doing this every single week. I appreciate you all out there. Thank you for listening. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puff and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.